Hi everyone and welcome back. Today I want to talk about something that I don't know that we've really touched upon before. Many of you know this, but just for everyone else, I actually have a couple of different roles here at the company, Genpact. I obviously run our business as it relates to digital, so we pull out a number of solutions around artificial intelligence, analytics, automation, and experience. And we bring that to life with clients, helping them digitally transform themselves. But let's put that aside for today. I want to talk a little bit about my other role and some of the things we've learned in that journey around digitally transforming ourselves. I'm a Chief Digital Officer, and I've actually been part of the journey and help us see sort of the transformation we've driven. And I wanted to actually go a little bit deeper into that part of what we do and actually explore and unpack a few things that I think we've learned in the process that might be helpful. And to do that, I want to turn to someone I've actually invited to our conversation today. It's Dimple Arora. Dimple's been part of Genpact, and I'm going to ask you in a minute to tell us about yourself. But Dimple's been with the company for a little bit, and she's served in many roles. But one of the things that she does today is she runs the operations for what we do around digital. And I think in that journey, she's helped us see through the transformation we've gone through. And so, without sort of spending too much time taking your thunder away, Dimple, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how long you've been here.
Oh, to start with, I've been with Genpact for about 13 years now, with various roles. But I try to describe my career at Genpact as two parts. One is that of being a process transformation and a business transformation expert and taking transformation solutions to our customers. But really the last 4 years has been about taking our own internal transformation journey on. So how do we become a more digital-led, customer-centric, digital-led organization at the core?
Okay, so you've been right at the center of the action, and you've seen all of the ups and downs, so we've sort of gone through it. And now that you sit back and look at what I think has been a very, very strong digital transformation. By the way, a quick plug on this. I've been speaking with Gartner recently, and they've just published their next version of the Gartner Willful Disruption series, and it's on Genpact. And if you haven't seen it yet, you should try and grab a copy. But in a nutshell, we've gone through a significant transformation ourselves. And I think, Dimple, just from your vantage point, you've been sitting right in the middle of this, looking at all of that action. I'd like you to reflect on what are the top 3 learnings that you've taken away that you can give to us that the rest of us can use?
So, I crystallize this in my mind, Sanjay, for the journey that we've been on in 3 things, really. The first and the most important is getting the right talent on board.
Okay, so talent is one.
Talent is one big one. Second is establishing a culture that talent can really thrive and be nurtured in, right?
Okay.
And the third thing sounds tactical, but really important is getting the infrastructure, the core plumbing in place that makes this ecosystem, again, help nurture that collaboration, that DNA to thrive within the organization.
Okay, so you've thrown something out that's really interesting, but to be honest, many of us would have guessed that. Clearly you need the right talent because you're starting a new journey. Clearly you need a culture for that talent to be able to exercise everything that they bring to the equation. And I think this idea about infrastructure and a backbone and kind of the ways of working to be able to pull all that together is critically important. But I want to unpack that a little bit. So let's take talent. What does it take to get talent right? 1, 2, 3.
So what works for us is, I think we started with establishing what is that differentiated value proposition that we can take to the talent market, right? And really being able to describe that, articulate that very well for the folks that we wanted to attract back into the organization.
Okay. And I can see that, by the way, that because our value proposition is not about we're going to just do machine learning. Our value proposition is that we'll do machine learning in the context of supply chain.
Yes.
And the combination of those 2 things becomes very interesting to a subset of people that focus on machine learning. But for those people, we end up being a really good value proposition. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
What was something else on talent?
So once you've described that and you've understood what are the kind of people that you want to really attract, the second thing is about being able to do so in more innovative ways than we've traditionally been used to. So move out of the traditional talent acquisition channels.
What's an example?
So move away from the usual hiring, headhunting into maybe involving and engaging an ecosystem on a more regular basis. And when I say ecosystem, it's not just those few individuals, it's perhaps engaging with professionals, but also startups and also academics.
Give us an example of what you've done.
So for example, recently we've had this program that we ran, reaching out to more than 35,000 individuals and startups by the mediums of challenges, real world challenges that we set out to them and said, hey, come help us solve this.
Yeah.
By so doing, we engage the ecosystem with the real work that we do and establish a passion and actually identify people that are passionate about the same things that we are passionate about.
Got it.
And also in the process, establish ourselves as players that are doing really good stuff in digital, right? So our organization gets known for the stuff that we are doing,
So,
and
so,
brings that back into
so is
the.
talent all about hiring new people then? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, no, it isn't. It is also about then nurturing and then being able to upskill them. And when we say upskilling, the third thing that's really worked for us is creating bilinguality of talent, right? Which is about taking our domain process experts, which has really been the core strength that Genpact as an organization has had, and infusing digital talent or digital skilling into them. But equally is the reverse osmosis, right? Which is bringing digital talent in and then helping them transform into a domain plus digital bilingual talent.
So look, I'm gonna wanna just quickly punctuate what you just said so we can move on to the second topic you have brought up. So just on talent, it sounds like our key learnings has been number one, you've got to segment the population you wanna go after and actually have a very unique value proposition that you have to be thoughtful in putting forward, as opposed to sort of, going to everyone with everything. I think that's a great learning, and I think I've seen it play out for us. I mean, the second thing you've talked about is actually use new ways of attracting talent and getting them engaged, and isn't the age-old, sort of standard recruiting mechanism. And I think you give us a great example. And I've seen us play this out in many other areas, and it's just been fantastic. And I think the third one is talent isn't about just bringing in new people. It's actually about reskilling, cross-training. And I think you called it bilinguality, but the idea of actually having people that are, that are conversant in two different things,
Exactly.
machine learning and supply chain, and artificial intelligence and finance and accounting. I think that really comes into play. So those are great learnings for us. I want to sort of hold that thought for a minute. I want to move on to the second point you raised and just talk to us a little bit more about it.
So the second thing I said was culture, and that's a difficult one. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time building, and it takes a lot of thought about what is it that we want to stand for when this talent comes into us. And actually, Sanjay, you've been at the forefront of leading some of that conversation for us internally. Look, I think the notion of intellectual honesty was the first thing that we peg our quotes on, which is all ideas are good. It doesn't matter where those ideas come from. No fear of hierarchy. Be able to take up new ideas.
Yeah.
With the complete honesty and complete objectivity around it. And actually you should talk a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
And then I think other than that is also about becoming comfortable with an agile, iterative style of decision making, which
Yeah.
we as an organization were not used to, but we
Yeah.
learned through this process.
Yeah. I mean, I think our learning has been that you have to solve problems outside of the box that gave rise to the problems in the first place. And so you bring in all this amazing talent and you regroup yourself to the effort ahead. You have to think about doing it differently. So the notion of self-aggregating teams, the notion of non-hierarchical decision making, the notion of intellectual honesty, which you called out, it's this idea of best ideas win, doesn't matter where it came from, and using that as a way to drive significant innovation, breaking the box, thinking outside of it, and then driving change, I think becomes really important. I think you're right that whole aspect of culture is as integral. You can have all the talent you want in the world, you still won't get ahead if you don't have the right culture, because it's the catalyst that drives the birthing of those great ideas and the deployment of those great those great projects that come from the talent that we've brought in. So we talked about talent, we talked about putting the right culture in place and evolving that. Talk to us a little bit about these ways of working and infrastructure. Yeah.
And that's a lot of things actually rolled up into one word that we call as ways of working, or infrastructure. Really, it's at the core of the organization. How do you employ these teams with the tools, the technology that helps them collaborate, that makes them more efficient, that makes them more productive? It's also about, for example, even redefining workspaces, the infrastructure, the facilities design that helps, again, more collaboration, more breeding of teams that can aggregate quickly together and then move away. It comes to even processes, internal processes that help decision making, help velocity of work, right? So they don't come in the way of getting work done faster, but really are agile and enable our teams to kind of move ahead really with velocity. And I think there's a lot of stuff that is in there, but it talks to how an organization works internally and redefines the internal enabling functions, if you will, to be able to support this team to go forward.
I mean, I guess what you're really saying is for any company that is a successful company that's looking to deploy transformation, to deploy digital, the challenge is you've been a successful company, and the reason you've been a successful company is because you have institutionalized processes, methods of working, hierarchical decision making, things in place that actually work for you for the majority. Now you're looking to transform, and the reality is some of those same components don't really work in the real world, and so you have to be really thoughtful about coming back at it, looking at it with a new lens, and actually evolving your style of working. And I think you talked about electronic mechanisms, but also physical mechanisms, and really the methodology how decision gets made. I think it's a really important one to reflect on. Wow, so I think you packed a lot in there, but clearly, clearly infrastructure ecosystem, the ways of working, clearly culture, and clearly talent are sort of three big takeaways that I walked away with from you. It's not been easy though, has it? I mean, what does it feel like to be in the center of that storm? And in hindsight, you've given us some great perspective. But what did it feel like when you were going through it?
It isn't easy, but I think it's something that I have completely enjoyed doing. And really, at the core of it, you need to be a change agent. You need to be able to get up every day and say, "I'm going to change the world." And so what if it's not the world? But it really that is the driving force. And I think it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, but surely a few days you woke up and said, "What am I doing?" Right?
Well, when it comes to the push and pull of everyday changes and everyday conversations, yes, it does.
It does tug at you, doesn't it?
But it's been very fulfilling.
But I think you got to keep the end in sight. You got to keep moving. Well, you've done a great job. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for continuing to participate in this, and please give us feedback, inputs, thoughts, as you've always done, on areas that we want to explore together, and I look forward to doing that with you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.